Tea Party at? Where's everybody at? Where's everybody at? First person I see is Les. What up, Les? Sydney, what up? Chandai Malcolm, what up, man? Bree, first in the comments. What up, sis? How's everybody doing? Gladys, Sydney, Dave. Providence, what up? Yeah, man, everything blessed. What up, people? We're the Tea Party. We're the bastions of common sense. Today is the morning after. Diana, what up? How's everybody doing? Maury, what's happening? Valencia's here. Tino's here. Promise is here. Chris Smiler, what up, man? Yo, Chris, I saw your video in Manchester, man. Pretty place. Pretty place. 43 people watching. Liz, what up? My big bro Kuda and the AP, Father in the AP. The morning after. The morning after the morning. Zimbabwe. What up, peeps? Let's start. Today's a public holiday. Today we commemorate our last dictator, his birthday. Today we're drinking white tea. I know I shouldn't. I should be drinking green tea, but you know, I needed some comfort drink. Today we commemorate our last dictator, Robert Mugabe. It's his birthday. They made it a public holiday. So here we are. Yesterday, Morgan Tsvangirai was laid to rest. Magnificent sight. Thousands of people came to commemorate what is a hero to them. What many start to say is the Bayon of democracy. We now have a new word in our vocabulary, Bayon of democracy. That was Morgan Tsvangirai. And now that the man is in the ground, I think we can now talk. We can now talk and be more analytical about the things that were happening for this man to then be put into the ground. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very, very difficult. The things that I saw in the last few days, I cannot explain to you how incredibly complicated the situation in Zimbabwe and in African politics is. Now, I apologize, see, because I'm about to swear a whole lot and I can hear my daughter in the background, so let me close the door.
Sorry.
So, Tea Party Melbourne, what up, TK? Incredible things happened in the last few days, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought for those who have not been following the events, what I will do is I will break them down slowly and systematically as verbatim news items. However, I'm going to give you my take on some of these things. Now, this is my own personal opinion. I hold no opinions for anybody else. I definitely feel like I'm conflicted in the way that I'm feeling currently. So I must make sure that some things are out of the way first. First of all, some of you may be joining us for the first time. I use very strong language sometimes. Forgive me. If you don't like the words fuck or can't, please fuck off. This is not your channel today. Go and watch something nice. Number two, do not come into my inbox and threaten my life because I have a different opinion to yours. This intolerance that Zimbabweans are getting now is becoming pretty tiring. I'm different to some of these other clowns. See, if you threaten my life and I can find you, I'll fucking do you something. I'm different from these other guys. I'm not nice. So let me just make that clear. I'm tired of the threats. What should have been a very, very, very simple situation where a president of a party dies. The party constitution kicks in. The people take over that are supposed to take over constitutionally. And things move on and we bury the icon, the icon of for many. A man who had many followers. We saw evidently at Freedom Ground. What should have been very simple was overly complicated. by a mixture of very, 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 very weird things. Very, very weird things. A mixture, a cacophony of stupidity. First of all, our generation is fucked. Our generation is fucked. You see, go and find your activists, in quotation marks. See their selfie-seeking loving asses. See, they're the same niggas who at ED's commemorations taking selfies. They're the same niggas who go to funerals and take selfies, you see, because they want to, they believe purely by proximity, they assimilate power. You see, it's ironic how many of these so-called activists who've done nothing for the struggle at all, bar what I do, which is rant, make it to the big tent when the rest of the povo are sitting in the rainy crowds. I want you to judge these people harshly, ladies and gentlemen. These hypocrites. Judge these hypocrites harshly. And go on their timelines, because the internet doesn't forget, and find everything they said about Monga Trangarai before he died, and then juxtapose it. Juxtapose it with the things they said after he died. And I know Auntie Wafawa Naka, but some of these comrades of mine are fucking hypocrites. And I find their wishy-washiness retarded. So go on their timelines and watch and look at their selfies, ladies and gentlemen, at the graveside, and look at their selfies in the big tents as they smile and gloat about billions of democracy. And then they should ask themselves, who the fuck elected you? Who the fuck elected you? Because if democracy had it, most of these people would hang you. I found that distasteful, ladies and gentlemen, which is why I kept myself in the background. You see, I'm guilty of it too, but not like them. I'm guilty. I'm a part of this self-aggrandizing, self-seeking, self-gloating generation. I am a part of that. And for that, I apologize. I apologize if I've helped perpetuate that ignorance and that fuckery. I apologize if I've been a part of that megalomania, that self-serving, self-seeking, self-promoting, without any merit generation that goes and sits in the high tent when the real people are sitting in the cold and the rain. You see, when I went to Freedom Square, I noticed one thing. Everybody who was in the crowd, and there were thousands of people, thousands upon thousands and thousands, wearing their red shirts, red helmets, red caps, red bandanas, red drukus, you name it. I realized quickly how distant we are as the internet serving generation from the people who didn't actually come out on the street to blow their horns and actually sing the songs and the slogans of some of the opposition parties. We're very, very distant. We're very, very distant. You see, as I still stood in that crowd, tempted by all means to go and sit in the high tent with my other selfie-seeking, self-serving generation, I decided not to. Just like I decided not to go to the ED commemoration. You see, unfortunately, I'm bugged with conscience. So first thing that we're going to do today, guys, is go on their timelines and rebuke them for some of the things they used to say and then some of the things that they said. See, some of these people have no spines. And some of these people one day are going to ask you for their vote, for your vote for something, because they all believe they deserve to be in your leadership. They all believe they deserve to be in the high tents without doing anything. I want you to judge them harshly, ladies and gentlemen, because that's the democracy we want. They must agree to be judged as harshly as they have been judging others on their timelines. I want you to go to their selfies and say, we see you taking selfies at funerals. We see you. Because that's distasteful. And that's part of the big problem that I saw. You see, because of these devices that we have, information is moving at lightning speed. Right? Information is moving at lightning speed. It didn't take the man to die within 10 minutes. I had information after information after information on my phone. And the information was a combination of fake news, a combination of real news, a combination of propaganda, and so forth. And there was a lot of it that was going around. You see, the first person who was vilified in all this process, the first person, and this started on Mutuma Mawere's interview with Colin Trangirai and some of the other leadership, was Elizabeth Trangirai, the wife of Morgan Trangirai. Now, the sad thing for me is I didn't find out about the death of Morgan Trangirai from the regular way. You see, I had another point of contact. See, Elizabeth's daughter and my daughter, my eldest daughter, are friends. They've been in school together since very young, since they were bishops in their primary school. So it was around 2 p.m. on the day that he died when I got a message from my eldest daughter saying, "Oh, shame, Dad, Musa's dad just passed." So that was my first contact with finding out. So that's the layer of tragedy that I was dealing with. See, the reasons why we went to Batamawoko was not for us to then go and sit with the activists and the other cadres in the parties, no. It was actually taking my 15-year-old daughter to go be with a friend who's been to my house for sleepovers, and a friend who, the house I've dropped my daughter off for sleepovers before. And this was the struggle, because I could see the layer of tragedy, because my friend's mother was now being vilified as a fornicator, as a gold digger, and so forth. When I can tell you one thing, the amount of times I met that woman, the amount of times I've entrusted that woman with the care of my daughter, she's been nothing but a good woman to me. She's been nothing but a good woman to my daughter. So reading some of that misogynistic, horrible crap that was coming out about this woman to try and vilify her, I think was a tragedy. It was an absolute tragedy, some of the things that were being said about Elizabeth Trangirai. And I think anyone who shared that vitriol and bullshit needs to be ashamed of themselves. Because, see, Zimbabwe does this. When men pass away, right, the women then bear the brunt of the bullshit. Now, it's not her fault that I'm sure she was sitting minding her own business, and the old man came up to her and said, "I really like you." You know, the old man had jokes. He was charming. He had charisma. Shit, I mean, most women would have fallen for that kind of nigga, because he also had power. He was also a prime minister. I mean, he also probably had a bit of money. Let's not take away from the many layers of reasons why people engage in relationships. But he, without sin, fucking cast the first stone for God's sake. When did we lose our morals as a generation for us to be vilifying a young mother? A woman who stood by that man even when that man was really, really sick. I mean, damn, she's fine, my nigga. She could have gone at any time. Shit, no one would have blamed her. I mean, considering how many times that nigga fucked around, I mean, he had other kids out there. You know, we all know the real stories behind the nigga. But she stood by that guy. How did she end up becoming the villain of the situation? I found it very sad. I found it very sad that the family of the late Morgan Trangirai were so impoverished still, despite the amount of access that the late great Morgan Trangirai had himself. That his brother Colin, for example, is still rogering in Warren Park, which makes him easily susceptible to being bribed, to being bought, and to being manipulated. Because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, the love of money is the root of all evil. When I witnessed that family being played, people like Mutunga Mawere should be ashamed of themselves. When I witnessed that family being paid and brought into party politics for no apparent reason. You see, they played a part in even indoctrinating an old woman, an old gogo, who has now become the butt of our jokes. He's become the butt of our jokes. An old woman, an old gogo. I want you to think about that. As you go through your WhatsApp messages and see some of these messages about a woman where people are sending around rope and sending around things to tell her to go hang herself. Now, an old woman of that era, if she's being told that your daughter-in-law has been sleeping with the other guy, of course she doesn't want, of course she'll come out there angry and say, this woman here killed my daughter, killed my son. Of course, she was being manipulated. What information does Gogo have? She's not on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. She was yet another victim. So I'm telling you about some victims right now. I'm telling you about the children who are left behind. The children. My daughter's friend. Left behind. With an uncertain future. Because when their mother was looking after their stepdad in South Africa, the relatives were in the house trying to take all the stuff. Trying to take all the things. Two police had to step in. That to me is a tragedy. That they were going to take the stuff. So you got the children who have an uncertain future. You have the wife of the man, right? Who now has to live with the stigma of the things that are being said about her. It doesn't matter whether they're true or not. Because history will not judge on the things that you people have written on the internet. Now we have a gogo who's now become the butt of millennials' jokes on the internet. That's another victim. T.Khupe then goes to the funeral. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't condone some of the manipulation of the family that happened. I don't condone it. And I think this is now people using their last clutches of a dying horse to try and grab some sort of power and relevance. Going to get the body in South Africa, coming back, manipulating the family, and then coming to the funeral. So you understand that the fellowship, the followership, the membership of MDC are now infuriated. They're now infuriated. But it doesn't condone the fact that when the elected deputy president of the MDC arrived at the funeral, she was stoned and hit with umbrellas and put in a hut. And according to reports, niggas were trying to burn the hut down. And when you see the videos of the dudes who are doing this, these are people wearing regalia. Now, I can't verify whether they're MDC or not. But what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is the deputy president of the MDC was stoned and beaten. Stoned and beaten at the funeral of a man she worked with for damn near 26 years. What are these young men who are doing this to a woman, a mother? What were they thinking? Is this what our generation has descended to? Because I could see that these were 18 to 25-year-old young men. There were young men who were stoning this poor woman. Stoning their Secretary General, Drug Manzura, who has come to a funeral to bury a cadre. Now, whether they got on or not before his death, that's irrelevant. You see, me and my brother fight a lot. Me and my friends fight a lot. You know, I'm in a situation where me and Lumumba sometimes really argue and fight a lot. But God damn it, if I die, let the nigga come and bury me. Let him pay his last respects. Without fear or fervor. This should be an opportunity for us to show our Africanness. Then you motherfuckers wear kentes and fucking dashikis and go and celebrate fucking Black Panther. And then you're proud to be African? That made me sad to be African. To see that kind of disgraceful behavior happening to elected leaders of the party. As my activist friends took selfies. And they took fucking selfies. See, where was the outrage activist? Where was the standing in front of that and saying, no, this is outrageous. I want to be an activist for women's rights and not against violence against other people. No to violence. Where were they at this point? Gone, they're all, some of them today, and they're placating it, you see. They're part of the spin machine. They're trying to make sure that you forget what the people were doing in the name of Chamisa. See, don't forget. Refuse to forget. Now, I've always said to you guys that I'm a supporter of a generational change. Now, I know that seems myopic. And I didn't sleep last night. My eyes are red as shit. I couldn't at all sleep because I found myself in this weird quagmire of thought. See, do we just support people because they're young? Do we just say, because these people are young, we support them? I realize that even in my own youth, there's a lot that I have to learn. There's a lot that we have to learn, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot that we have to learn. You see, I was ecstatic when I saw Nelson Chamisa at Freedom Ground. I think he's got the right language skills. I think he's got the right people skills. I think he's got the right charisma. I think he's been in government before as a minister of ICT. And he did some good work in ICT. I think as a man I know, as a man I've shaken hands with, I've been to his rallies, he's been very hospitable to me as a man. I am arguably a fan of Chamisa. A big fan of Chamisa. But now I know that Chamisa does not necessarily control the elements around him. You see, as a fan of Chamisa, I had to sit back and say, you know what? Some of this hero worship sycophantism that's happening right now, this hero worshiping that's happening, and some of the behaviors that people are doing, you know, the stoning of the deputy president, the infighting, some of the fake news articles that are now being churned out and written. See, I know Nelson Chamisa had nothing to do with those particular things. See, a lot of those things were done in his name by people who support him. See, when does this change? When do I accept that as a notion? That the man himself did a power grab, grabbed the power. See, this is politics. I understand political plays. I totally get political plays. But at what point does he become responsible as a leader for the actions of the people who speak in his name? This is the defining moment of his leadership. Is he going to be the Bayon of democracy and tolerance? Is he going to be the leader that we want, who's going to forward Zimbabwe into a space where people can come to these gatherings and not be stoned and beaten? Is he going to stand up for the downtrodden? Is he going to be the better man and say, you know what happened to T.Khupe was fucked up. I'm embarrassed by it. These people behaved in my name and we're going to deal with it decisively. Is he going to get some of those youths that we know who they are because we could see their the faces on the videos? Some of them were taking the videos themselves. Is he going to do a decisive thing and actually get rid of them? Because I can tell you what, the Charlton Wendes, the people who were initially in charge of beating up T.Khupe the day of the alliance launch. See, those guys were placated. They were given little sentences and they were brought back. They all were in the high tent this past week. They were all part of the process. The same guys who beat her up before were still there. You see, this is why she could be beaten up again. Because the people who beat her up the first time were forgiven. They're back in the structures. You see, this is not the leadership we want. If people are going to be purporting violence within the political systems, we want to get rid of them completely. So we hope President Chamisa does this. We hope that he finally sees the rotten apples, the people who are so ZANU-fied in their behavior that they're bringing us back to an old paradigm of politics. And we're tired of the ZANUification of politics. We're tired. Valencia says he has already spoken about the violence yesterday along with T.Khupe. You know what? I'm into politics and I can tell you one thing. What I heard yesterday on Voice of America was political language. There is nothing that Nelson Chamisa said yesterday on Voice of America. There's nothing that he said on Voice of America that Mugabe didn't say exactly. We're a party of zero tolerance. We're a party, we do not condone violence in any way. We shall investigate in the next chakuti hours and we shall make sure we deal with it. I have heard this all before. You see, words are easy for orators. Words are very, very easy for orators. So I'm tired of apologies. We want to see some actual action. You see, the proponents of violence, people like Charlton Wende, those guys are still in your structures. Those guys love violence. They're rabid dogs, see. And unless you deal with some of those elements, see, because this is what's going to take me to my next point, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you internet-loving people really believe that the people who are at that gathering are like you have a lot to be examined in your head. There's a lot to be examined in your head. The people who are out there are different to you and I in many, many respects. It felt like a football tournament. And the people who were there chanting and running around and blowing horns were actually felt like football hooligans. And I understand hooliganism because I'm a fucking hooligan. Justice says, so Kuda, if he didn't apologize. No, on VOA he apologized. But I'm saying to you that he didn't say anything that, for example, Emerson Mnangagwa hasn't said a million times. You see, these are things that politicians say. We have a script. That's what we do. We apologize and we placate the public with apologies. Just like when T.Khupe was beaten up the first time, there was a placation of the apologies. We don't accept this, we don't accept that, we're going to investigate. They suspended 4 people and then immediately brought those 4 people back. All those 4 people were present yesterday when T.Khupe was being stoned. I just want you to know that. I want you guys to know that. Are we yet ready for politics that does not involve hero worshipping to the extent of beating other people up? Are we at a stage now where, as a supporter of ZANU-PF, I could have come to also commemorate the death of Morgan Tsvangirai because because he was a national icon? Opam Chunguri was actually booed yesterday. She was booed. Are we yet in a tolerant place? You see, these are the questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves. We have already answered the question about whether as a generation we care about constitutionalism. I mean, we marched and supported ED. We marched and supported ED. You see, Mandla will come and say ED has never apologized for killing the Wele people. And that's not the point. You see, what you're trying to do is you're taking a micro point and then trying to add it to what I'm trying to say to my narrative and then make it sound like I'm saying something that's not correct. What I'm telling you now is Noah Manyika's team in Rimba were beaten up when they were trying to do the rally a couple of days ago. If you go to ED right now, ED will say these words. ZANU-PF is a party of peace. It's a party that tolerates no violence. We had nothing to do with the violence that took place. We shall investigate and we shall let you know. There's a formula to what ED will say when people in ZANU-PF behave in a certain way in his name. What I'm trying to explain to you guys is this. I understand that there are now people who are going to be doing things in Nelson Chamisa's name and Nelson Chamisa does not endorse it. He doesn't even think about it. There's a lot of people who are going to behave in a certain way in the name of Nelson Chamisa when it's not Nelson Chamisa's fault. Leadership is going to be how he deals with people who behave in his name. As a leader, will he be able to get people who believe in him to believe in another way? As a leader, will he be able to get people who trust in him and who want him to be their champion to stop behaving like hooligans? See, that will show me if he's a good leader. Because if you're a leader who can transform the way your party behaves, you can transform the way the people around you think, then if you can transform the violence in your party and transform it all the way, if you can do that as a leader, then you can lead the nation. Robert Mugabe failed to do that. Robert Mugabe failed to get a hold of the people who were speaking in his name and doing things in his name. And hence he failed as a nation. Morgan Tsvangirai even. There was violence done in his name to T.Khupe. And that was not nipped in the bud. That's the reason why the people who beat T.Khupe were still in the high tent at Morgan Tsvangirai's funeral. They were all there. A good leader will be able to take those people and say, I know you believe in me, comrades. I know you believe in the cause. I know you believe in the generational mandate. I know you believe in Chamisa. But now I want you to do is make sure that you also believe in this, democracy, non-violence, in another way, alternative politics. You see, that's the chance. That's when we'll see if he's a good leader. And he has a few days to go. He has now got an opportunity in front of all of us to show the strength of his leadership. We now has an opportunity to show the strength of his leadership. This is not church Kuda. Chamisa cannot control and influence anyone. Well, if he cannot control and influence anyone, then he's not a good leader. The whole point of good leadership is that they should be able to lead people. And that's what I hope that he's going to prove. And I think he's a good man and he should try and lead the people. Anyway, Before I close off, let me take a couple of calls. Does anyone want to be added? I know there's a couple of loudmouths here. I'd love for them to join. Let's see what they have to say. Let's bring some of our favorites on. Let's see what they have to say.
Debbie or German?
German, what do you say?
So I'd say my levels.
Ini bo German inini semwana wa Zimbabwe ndineka kunyara mbichane zvakaitika in the last week uri kunzwa tinoona vamwe vanhu vachifa mudzimwe nyika, and I genuinely feel in my heart. Sorry, I'll go back to English because we've got different people watching, but I see other places where people die, and I once saw Tony Blair, David Cameron, leaders from the opposite sides of the fence together commemorating the deaths of heroes and of people of influence in their country. What made us as Zimbabweans fail to do that, even on a party level? Why did we fail?
Ongozi that my boy tingori nika mentality kiduka tinooperator nako. Do the one country mu Africa inooperator zviripo. Takangofanana ma blacks zvingori muropa wangu pamapati izvozvo. Saka chinhu chatifonga kutanga kutadzidza isusu but chinhu chingori ma Africans, chinhu chingori ma blacks wangu. Nyangu wada kutarisa ndiudze nyika wanya unoudza inyaso operator mushe.
So isusu tikati. So are we saying we're giving up as a generation? Are we saying that we live in the world you're living right now, you're in America, where people all over the world, where we're learning the best practices? Are you telling that as a generation we are failing to change the way we think? As the most literate nation in Africa.
Tinochinja seko Kuda tsatapiwa mkana apana wacho. Madhara acho anindi wachiri kumsoro. Dera chapinda sapana takutonga katika tadza kazovunza muvunzo yo. I'll be able to answer you. Right now mkana tsatapiwa wangu. Madhara ndio angori kumsoro. Isusu tinokwanisa kuchinja sei. Inathink chamisa azama papa. Even the way yanga achitaura pa finance kapapa. The way panga chi protector anonzani ko mkazi wezanyu. Anonzani sarake.
Mai Mchinguri,
waona the way ataura nayo wataona even iri politics ka. Waona kuti munhu anogona kutaura nevanhu vangu. Saka ndiri kufunga kuti kana German vakapiwa mukana kava zvari kuda zvichaitika wangu. Ndipo pandiri kuona. And then anga uchitaura ndakuvinga kayaya. Kusati yokuti chamisa vanhu vake ndo varova Mai Khupe. What if kana Mai Khupe varivo vahaya vanhu vaya kuti vaite chamisa loke bed wangu. Politics anybody in politics angawanza kutamba date wangu. Hapana unotrust.
Icho kwa icho. I mean in nangu sekuona kwandakaita ka. Vanhu vai ndo vanotwa kuti leadership now is how do you lead people like that even to make sure we talk with them so that we can actually work and live together, because in a working democracy people that kana ku UK kana ku America kune vanhu ma democrat akarora ma republican vantu never they have homes but they can be on the other sides of the aisles. But why can we not get to that stage?
Mirani mbokudza kakuda ndida kutaura ine good way kuti tsazoroho ineniwo ndikazoenda kuZimbabwe apa. Pane level of understanding nemwe level yekuti unoona kuti munhu kudzidza kwake nokadai pane vamwe mabora ngoma kuti ukada kuvaudza kuti zvavakuita vamupedzisira vapandukira iwewe. Chamisa cannot say anything to those guys. The only thing he can say to guys, no to violence. Haikona ada kuvatsiura kunge akuvatsamwira kunge chichichi because vanomupandukirawo 2 minutes and those people ndo vanhu vanotoda kuti vamuvhotere futi vavo.
Manje vesa kuzoda yake just finish off ka kana achitadza kucontrola vanhu then he cannot lead my country for my children. I would like a leader who can lead the country for my children. That's what I want.
But mina ndimbokudza kapaya inini apa I think atimbowaregera because tensions were high because my party members anga chifunga kuti Thokozani Khupe na Mudzingu vangada kuita sei vachida kuuraya party. Saka kana munhu osangagara nementality yakadaro neni ofunga ndakarowo neJemerson ndaitochovero kuti guys ayo avada kuti kanganisira party vanhu vezano vatengwa nezano. Saka tensions were high wangu.
Listen, my brother. I'm going to ask you a question. Yeah. Is Thokozani Khupe wrong to feel aggrieved? Is she wrong to feel robbed? Answer that question honestly. Is she wrong to feel that?
Wrong. Kana chida democracy she's allowed kuti kana chidoka vapinde paballot zviite 50-50 kuti zvipedzerana. I mean, but vanhu like I'm trying to say, ini kana chindudza I don't think she's wrong because I understand. Doctor zviite fair. but vana Germany vaya vari paground vachati muri kuda kuuraya party muda kuzama kuita sei muri vanhu vezanu chichichi. Do you understand zvandiri kuzama kutaura wangu? Zvinodependa tiri kuexplainerani Kuda because vana Germany vakarohwa ne2 kids vaya hapana zvavanovaudza shamwari. Ndiwo totozopedzisira varohwa nebhodhoro racho.
So, do we want those people to be the deciders of our nations for the future of our nation?
Ndo vanhu vacho vanovhota tikaite sei hapana pati isina violence. Mayouth ezanu anga neviolence, kuMDC vane violence, zvagara zvingoripo. Ukaenda kumayouth ANC naye ane violence wangu. Chimbondiudza pati isina panha nejambanje. Everywhere kune jambanje wangu. Ndizvo zvazvingori Kuda. Maybe zvichachinja kana apiwa mukana wake muFacebook ambopinda, but hakuna kusina jambanje wangu. Ndo pafeya Kuda. And it's too early kuti akwanise kucontrola crowd iyi. Chimbomusiya Face ambopinda amborula nyaka kawaneka kana kuudza maJerman ati awa zvisaite zvemusino musikadaka vanomuteerera. Right now he needs every vote yaanoda muFacebook ya. Ko akavatsiura 15 wakaenda nemavotes edu idiyo ramba ripo. Uriona game racho.
All right, my brother. I get you. Thank you very much for joining me, my brother. I appreciate your insight. That's my brother, man. Does anybody else want to join, ladies and gentlemen? There's a lot of people want to join, so let me try and add some people. Okay, let me add a lady. Let's try and get the gender balance correct. Yeah. My sister, how you doing?
Kuda.
Please go straight in.
You know what? You said a few wise things. It's for me. I take Kuti. We shouldn't be people who are very reactive to news. We shouldn't be very reactive. We are a tabloid culture. We are a generation who don't think. What made the generation Yana Morgan, Nana Bob, for those who believe Bob is a hero, it's because they followed the principles. They followed their own principles to the top. They fought for those principles and did it. We are a generation who have no principles that we are using to guide us to the promised land we seek. So if we don't establish the principles that will guide the Zimbabwe we want, we will never have the same type of success Vana Bob had, Vana Nkomo had.
Yeah.
And Chamisa, if he uses the same tactics that Bob used in the end of his rule, what he will end up with is a caricature of Bob. He can't go into power using the same mob psychology Bob used with his youth. Chamisa, if he's a good leader, he must know the generation that is uplifting him. We are a generation that hated my youths. The behavior of youths is something we hated. If he is to get into power, he must squash that from the get-go. He must be a leader who stands by protecting the things we hated. We hate youths being vigilante. We must agree on that. Vigilante activity, it shouldn't happen. We must fight for the prince. If you follow Chamisa, it does not mean fight in the gutters for Chamisa, even when you are wrong. But right now, what Mandla is saying is, let us ignore the vigilante activity just to propel Chamisa. No, we are raising a leader that is going into power with vigilantes supporting him. When you next don't support Chamisa, he will have an army of vigilantes against you, Mandla. That 1 year you are saying, let's let him go in. When you now don't like him, he will have a strong vigilante support. You can't remove him. So right now, don't accept vigilante. Say, Chamisa, if you are right, if you are the rightful one in position, fight democratically and we will support you. We want a good leader. That is not a problem. But we don't want a leader that goes with bad principles. Mugabe did the same. He ignored it when his youths fought on his behalf. And then he would do the apologies. Why are you letting Chamisa allow vigilante activities? Those people will say he apologized on VO8. I watched the same live. He didn't apologize. He went on the offensive. He was very obtuse. he was quoting acts of parliament that do not apply to the issue at hand. But because you enjoyed him quoting acts, sections of law, you believed him. Thokozani Khupe is
Me,
the deputy.
the funny thing that I found the most funny was when he first got on the phone. They said we've got Advocate Nelson Chamisa on the line, and then the first thing he said, I'll translate. He said it in Shona, but he said, "Before you announce me, please announce me by my correct title.
Exactly.
What's my name?" I mean, that's the first thing he said. I found that funny as hell. You know what?
We are becoming
we're
selective in
becoming
hearing.
crazy.
We are selective in hearing. We wanted him to apologize. We ignored everything else he was saying. In the same speech, he said, this is his words. He said, other people have left MDC before. Even these ones, Vana Khupe, can leave. He doesn't care. He said those who have left before have died. Their parties have died. So a president who says he doesn't care about the building of his party, and he will only take with him people who agree with him, that is not democracy. He should be about building the MDC family. They have a good opportunity to do that. This selective democracy is annoying right now. Let's listen to the leaders as they speak. Let's not pick out the good things we want them to say and ignore the bad things. Chamisa, yes, the people love him, but let him go in with the principles of building a nation, not separating a nation. It won't work. It will not work. We can't fight ZANU-PF with ZANU-PF principles. It has never worked. Let's move on and establish what we like.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your insights, my sister. We're going to keep watching, hopefully, and let's talk to some chat. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who is a Nelson Chamisa supporter, I'd like to talk to you guys direct. Engage with some guys who are saying Chamisa chete chete. I would like to speak to some of you guys as well. For example, Angel Bird. Let me see if I can add you. Anyone who is a Chamisa supporter who would like to speak. I'm trying to add somebody here who's a Chamisa supporter. If you're a Chamisa supporter, please say add and I'll add you. Wellington, let me see if I can add you. Be nice to talk to some of the Chamisa supporters. Okay, so the conspiracy theory, obviously, is that add for support for Chamisa. Let's get some Chamisa supporters on here. People are saying that what if those people who were beating up Khupe were PF plants? So, Mr. Tawanda, how you doing, bruv?
Good, thanks, man. How are you?
You said you're a Chamisa supporter. Let us know. What are your thoughts on what's happened?
I think in terms of the violence, I would just like to point out Panyaya Mai Khupe specifically. If you saw the bus stop TV clip, near 1 minute into that clip, one of the guys, the MDC guys that wears the Vanguard outfits, is the one that came and said, no, that Tumana Chamisa. And they said, you guys, we know you guys have power, Tumana president, please stop what you're doing and we'll sort this out. So it shows to me.
Okay, so
that
let me stop you. Let me show you. Hold up. I want you to now go on YouTube and find the clip of the guy who went to assault Khupe on the day of the alliance. I want you to see the same guy is the same guy who's stopping the crowd. Do you see that?
No. That's but who was
I'm not going to mention his name.
But who was in charge of the party? I'm not going to mention his name,
but he's the same guy. He's the same guy who went to beat up Thokozani Khupe the time he alliance, and he's the same guy who then who sent to stop the thugs. I think that. But
who was in charge? Who was in charge of the party at the time? I mean, it's one of those situations that this is an unfortunate incident. Everyone can agree that violence is wrong, but you've been magnanimous enough to give ED 100 days. Chamisa hasn't even been in control of the power for 3 days.
We're not even talking. We're not yet talking about Chamisa's transformation of the MDC party. I hope to play an active role in anything that Chamisa does, because I already in front of you guys for many years I've said that Chamisa gets into Panyanga, I would definitely dedicate my time and efforts to make sure that we are part of that juggernaut and try and make sure that we can remove this junta. So you have to remember that I'm speaking from a position of being a supporter of the young man. However, what I'm not a supporter of is fucking fuckery. And what I don't want is a situation where we're allowing thugs to run around beating up people in the name of Chamisa,
But
and then expecting us to be able to get an electoral mandate.
You yourself have said, Kuti, the people that are at those rallies are very different from you and me, right? Now,
Yeah.
I can't myself say I know what struggles those people go through every day. I can't say Kuti ndokwira kombi every day chimaniswa nemapurisa tichirohwa even nema windy footy. So I don't understand what level of acceptance of violence they have on a day-to-day, or what kind of violence they have to deal with on a day-to-day. So
Yeah.
the thing about T.Khupe, in my humble opinion, is that she's made the mistake of excluding herself from party processes to such an extent that she's now being seen as an outsider. Whereas if you have a battle to fight, if you thought that the appointment of the vice president was wrong, why don't you fight it?
All of that I accept, guys. And remember, we did a whole show about who is the rightful leader and constitutionalism and all that. Notice that today I have not even tried to touch on who's the rightful leader or not, because I believe the population, the public of MDC have chosen the person they want them to lead them. And I'm not a party of the MDC. I'm not a card-carrying member. So I'm staying out of their leadership wrangles. What I am saying, though, is that if there is a leadership contestation, at least let us not fuck up the woman who is saying I'm feeling begrudged. When the Secretary General of your party, someone you elected to be the bastion of sanity in your party, the SG, says, we need to stop this, bury our legend, and then get back together and do a congress or some sort. If you then stone him for saying those things, then what is the difference between you and ZANU-PF? That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that. But at some point, you've lost the people. And at some point, you lose the people because you're no longer operating in the people's interests. At some point, if you've lost Harvest House, if you've lost the people, you have to ask yourself why. What's happened to get Monzora, who was won at Congress, who beat Chamisa Congress? What's happened between that time and today that has made it such that he can't control Mayuse's party when he's second, nominally he's second most powerful in the Harvest House?
I can tell you about Douglas Manzura, and I can tell you that one thing that I know about the man, because it's a personal judge of character, is that he's a good man. Now, and he's a principled man. And this is the difference between a generational shift that's happening, where Manzura, because of his legal background, he doesn't want to do things which are out of procedure. He's a very procedural guy. That's why he attended the meeting, the NC meeting in Harvest House. He attended it. But what he couldn't do was endorse the NC. He said, guys, this is not the time for us to be doing these kind of guans. So he's a procedural guy. So I don't even believe that he's picking sides per se. I just believe that because of procedure, he found himself in a position where he had to stand for the right thing. And by standing by the right thing, he was beaten up for it. And I think this is what I'm saying, guys. Let's at least speak against that. When somebody stands for the right thing, or even thinking they're doing the right thing, let's not see. For example, I have been very critical to the MDC at certain points, right? You have to understand that I was even critical of Morgan Tsvangirai many times, and rightfully so. I still hold a lot of my original assertions. It doesn't take away from his influence in democracy or his fight or how much miscarriages of justice. However, when I went to the gathering at Freedom Square, nobody beat me up. Nobody beat me up. In fact, everyone was bigger. Niggas saying going to the high 10. Why is it that their deputy president got beaten up? That's what I'm saying with the guys. We need to have some common sense now.
Yeah,
right? Whether Chamisa had a coup, not a coup, doesn't matter. But at least as a leader, as the leader that I think he's the man that I believe he is, he must now take control of this nonsense situation and say, right, this has to stop. Even if it means, as a leader, I'm confident enough in the support from the people that I'm willing to go to an extraordinary Congress next week, chayo. Moya may sit off with who you want as leader to move forward. That's the kind of leadership I would like to see.
That's what we want. We want him to go to a Congress and resoundingly beat everyone, and then we can just calm down and relax and get on with this. But right now,
thank you. That's all I want.
There's nothing that he did in the moment within his powers that he didn't. There's nothing he didn't do to stop that violence. In the moment, there's like I'm just saying that video shows clear evidence that on the day before the Voice of America, before all of this, the situation was already resolved on that day. So someone came to the tent and said, "All right, cheers."
I appreciate you participating. Guys, I got a lot of people who like to participate. I'm literally adding you in the order that you've asked to be added. So Arnold is next. So let me add Arnold. So it's pretty much Arnold is not addable. Okay, we got Tawanda, who's a ZANU PF supporter. I know him as a ZANU PF supporter. He wants to be added. Okay, guys, I'm gonna try and add you once. If he doesn't agree, then I move on to the next person. Chamisa, power hungry. I mean, guys, we as a generation, we like to spew. We just like to spew things. Why do we do that? Okay, guys, please. Who wants to be added to the next? Add Todd. Todd wants to be added. Everyone, I tried to add just now. Your things refused. I don't know if they're expired or not. So if you need to be added, click add again, and I will add you on the. Mr. Todd, how you doing?
Mr. Kuda, what did he say?
Tidi Boshaman, I hope you've parked and you're ready to. You're parked and you're ready to talk to us.
I'm parking now, and I'm ready to talk. Kuda, we're in a difficult situation, simply because the violence that's condoned by the Zimbabwean population now is really, really pathetic. It's appalling. Violence against anyone or towards anyone is unacceptable. And I'm actually surprised at some of your callers who are saying, Kutahanzi, we don't want to tell these violent youths off because we might lose their votes. What you are effectively doing is breeding a second ZANU PF, which is much stronger, much bigger than the original Mugabe ZANU PF, which is going to be more violent. These guys are younger. Chamisa is 40, you understand? Chamisa, if he lives as long as Robert Mugabe, you're going to have 50-something years of that kind of treatment. And a lot of people still don't understand political language. And on VOA, Chamisa did not apologize. He says, I don't have the facts, so I'm apologizing without the facts, which effectively is not an apology. Is effectively saying, I'm just saying what you want me to say, but I have my side, I have my people that I have to support. And as you rightfully say, the people that meted violence to T.Khupe were the very people in the VIP tent, which I fail to understand. Why are they being rewarded and why is she being kicked out? And the fact that her life was at risk. This is a leader, a deputy president, elected by the people of the MDC. And they're treating her like an outcast. It's unacceptable. He should be willing to bite the bullet and say, look, guys, it's unacceptable. Even though we're having our squabbles, respect the office of vice president. Because what will happen is the MDC will choose someone else. If Chamisa contests against Monzora, Monzora has beaten Chamisa before. And he could beat him again if he wants to go for president, you understand? So Chamisa will end up as vice president. And if he allows his vice presidents right now to be attacked by people, who's going to protect him? No one will be able to protect him because he's setting a precedence. You understand? And as you rightfully say, I mean, like, the violence has grown up in ZANU PF. We've seen it in ZANU PF. We experienced it when we went to Zimba, as rightfully say. And now that same violence is what I witnessed in the MDC. People like Wicknell said, I couldn't go and bury President Morgan Tsvangirai because of incidents like that could happen. And he was right. Because first I thought, no, this guy is just being pompous and he doesn't want to associate. But when I witnessed MDC people attacking their own vice president, what more would they do to an outsider? What more would they do to a ZANU PF person? Look at what they did to that lady, the representative of ZANU PF. You know, it's so wrong. And what I don't understand is why people are just saying Chamisa. I'm not voting for Chamisa for my own personal reasons, but you need to look at what is it he's bringing to the table. Can he control the party? From what I've seen so far, he cannot control the party, so control the country. If you can't control the MDC, you can't control the country. It's that simple, you know.
Well, but this is why, I mean, this is why I must always also be righteous and say this. I'm a big supporter of Nelson Chamisa. I think he's a good guy. But he now has an opportunity to win people like me over by showing his actual leadership skills in the next couple of weeks. He has a window of opportunity. Now, I don't think he needs people like me. And I want to be very, very clear about this. he doesn't necessarily need the internet generation to vote for him because he's got a large amount of people on the streets who love him, who don't have bundles like you and I do. So I don't think he necessarily needs to win us over. And I mean, he could gladly say, "I know fuck Kuda Anabas," which is fine. But what I'm saying is that if he does want to win a broad spec of people to support him in the next coming election, which he will need to win in areas like where I live, in our constituencies like Mount Pleasant, we're going to have to see him do something that none of these leaders before have managed to do, which is control your youthies, control the people who are giving you backs, control the media, control the fake news, and be an actual lead. And if he does that, he has all our support. And I think his alliance becomes a stronger unit when he manages to win cross-party and cross-board support. Because what we need to do is take out the junta. But what we can't do is just say, because you're young, we're going to let you give you the mandate. I don't believe that's going to be acceptable now for a generation to just vote in somebody because it's young. I think I was a big preacher of that, but I've now realized that that's actually myopic. It's very short-sighted. We need to be scrutinizing them by their.
Yeah, if you look at it, our parents voted for Mugabe because he's black. You understand? We wanted the white people out, so we just vote for a black man. You understand? We're 37 years down the line, and we are far worse.
Todd has now frozen. Sorry, Todd. I think Todd was trying to say that we're now 37 years down the line and we're far worse off. I think Todd is absolutely right. Sorry, Todd. I'm going to try and add you again. It's not agreeing. Let me add Josephine. Josephine, I'm trying to add you now. Tonight says, ED, let's give him a chance. Chamisa, no chance. He's young and has failed before he's even started. I don't think anyone is saying that. I think everybody would like to see Chamisa succeed, including me. I don't know if you've heard that elsewhere, but not here. Kuda, I don't know. I know myself. Trying to add Josephine. Josephine is not answering. Josephine, you're not answering. I tried to add you. You're not answering. Anyone else would like me to add? Ben Bright, let me try and add. Ben Bright, you don't have an icon next to your thing. Anyone else would like me to add? Ben, I tried to add you. You're not addable. Basil, let me try and add you. Please answer if we can. Obed Gutu has quit MDC. I say good riddance. Obed Gutu is a greasy slime ball. Grease ball.
Yes.
Mr. Basil, how are you doing, sir?
I'm all right, thank you, bro.
Hit me up, man. What do you think?
Inini, my problem is not that I don't like Chamisa. I've said it over and over again. I'm someone who was not really supporting MDC for one reason or another. But I had also said that if Chamisa is to be elected the president, I will support him. Now, what I cannot support is this whole thing of organizing youths in the background and then pretending, that you're actually pushing them away. It's just wrong. Chamisa can win an election in a free and fair contest with all those leaders. So I don't understand why he is doing what he's doing. I don't understand it. Is it a culture that we are used to just be violent or what? Because Chamisa, if he were to stand there and say, for instance, Douglas Monzora and what's the name, Mike Kupe and all that, and then he gets into a free and fair contest, he will definitely win that election. So why is he doing all this, what he is doing? Because he's pushing us away. We all support him. But I don't understand why he is allowing, people with it's like right now, I don't think, I think ZANU-PF would come around and say, you are a coup government. And indeed, it looks like a coup. You see? You are a coup opposition leader. We are a coup government, and you are a coup opposition leader. That's what he is allowing to happen. Because ZANU-PF is going to have justification why they do what they are doing. Why can we not have a different mindset as young people, and then start charting a different way forward. You know, the reason why our
Well, like I
people
said, remember, we have to give him an opportunity now, because he's only been in charge as an acting president for the last 3 days. We have to give him an opportunity to prove his leadership.
But that's the part I'm saying. Kuti in charge wacho iwo manje where the past 3 days. Again, that is when the SG walked out. I think if Chamisa also respects his SG and other people around him and other leaders around him, he should have said, right, okay, SG, organize a Congress, and then we go to that Congress. Whoever wins, he shakes hands with him, even if it's Douglas Monzura who end up winning. You know, as long as it's a free and fair contest, that's good. This is not a free and fair contest. It certainly looks like it's just that cool government to me. You know, all I'm saying is, in as much as I may want to vote Chamisa, but let him do the right thing. Simple. You know.
So Benson, you and me are on the same page, my brother. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's very simple. Thank you for joining us, and let me add more people who would like to talk. Let's bring Benson on. Benson, I'm trying to add you now. I'm trying to add you in the order you've requested. After Benson is James, then Batsy, then Edward. My brother Benson, how are you? My brother, I'm going to ask you, for the sake of sanity in this conversation, to address the issues at hand.
All right. The existence of Chamisa right now as a leader, for me, was unconstitutional in the first place. Sakakana mukamiriri weparty asina kuteerera mutemo, asina kuteedzera constitution yavo, it's already problematic. And that problem that we're talking about is the reason why urikuona patone a spirit of disorder, a spirit of rebellism in the party, because he started it. But not only that, Panemuna Taura, I think it was...
Is it the same as ED?
More or less the same with ED, absolutely. And right now, youth is Zeku MDC. They're actually playing very well into ZANU-PF's strong powers. Kuti kana youth is Zeku MDC dzichita zveganyavu. Mangwana kana ZANU-PF youth is zakuitawo zveganyavu. It will be very difficult for people to justify and say kuti ZANU-PF ngaistop violence, because unonzi inga munoita violence kupi ku MDC. Even though the leaders will pretend like they don't endorse it, it gives powers to the youths to do what they want. However, what I want to do is a question of the issue that we keep avoiding as Zimbabweans to talk about. Chamisa takamona achenda ku America just in November or December, but tinokumbira kuti masanctions asimbiswe. And I heard Masi saying we cannot talk about how the youth is acting on the street because they are the ones that are suffering from the economic conditions that are in Zimbabwe. And I think I've made it clear that my economic conditions are in Zimbabwe because of sanctions that are on Zimbabwe. Mubvunzo wangu ndewekuti can have free and fair elections in Zimbabwe when there are sanctions that are pulling down ZANU-PF, making ZANU-PF look bad, making us not be able to see the true performance of ZANU-PF because of sanctions that were put in order for MDC to ascend to power. Can we have free and fair elections under those conditions? And if ZANU-PF...
I have a simple answer for you. The simple answer is no, you can't.
Right. And so when ZANU-PF loses, after it feels that the tables were turned against it, will you expect that ZANU-PF to give power to MDC? Do we expect them to say, yes, MDC has won fairly when they feel that MDC was being supported by USA with sanctions?
Well, no, I mean, I've always said I don't see General Chiwenga handing over the keys to State House now.
Right. Sakatweta say manje pakadaro, because that's the issue that I think we should be talking about in Zimbabwe. If we're going to have free and fair elections, we mustn't give ZANU-PF a reason to say kuti zvino are not fair for them. We mustn't give ZANU-PF a reason to say kana imaita zvechitsotsi muchipuwa support nema Americans, we will just hold elections as a farce, but at the end of the day we won't give you power because imimuo you are being unfair by using the United States to prop you up to put you into the office.
Right. I mean, look, your points are all valid. Now, I didn't want to get into this debate today about sanctions, but I would like to say that the day that we do have this debate, I would like you to think about a few things. the man with the biggest house on Borrowed or Brook is General Chiwengo. One of the richest men in Zimbabwe is not Strive Masiwa, is the current president. You see, we can talk sanctions forever, but these sanctions have enriched and emboldened ZANU-PF far more than anything else in the world. So they can cry as much as they like about being victims, but when you own the TV stations, when you own all the radio stations, when you own all the major newspapers, state-owned newspapers, when you own 2 of the mobile networks in the country, I don't think ZANU-PF has any leg to cry on. I think they've also equally weighted the election in their own regard. I mean, they can literally send a text message on Telecel and net one to everybody like they do. They have got the Herald, they've got the ZBC, they've got all the radio stations, all 27 radio stations are ZANU-PF control, whether through Zim Papers or whether through Super's little front company. So ZANU-PF has got ample opportunities to counterbalance that. Plus, on top of that, state machinery, soldiers. Plus, on top of that, the police. Plus, on top of that, the secret intelligence. So, yes, we can go into the sanctions argument, and I've always been against things like Zidera. My record is clear. You can follow me from the back of 1,000,000 years ago. I've been very clear on this whole Zidera thing. I'm very clear that Morgan Tsvangirai and Rana Chamisa used that as a political tool that backfired on the people of Zimbabwe. I'm very clear on that stuff. But I'm also very clear that ZANU-PF has also been a fucking cancer to our country, because they've made billions of dollars, and they've also got a lot of opportunities to weigh themselves against the MDC. So in a situation where Morgan Tsvangirai won the election twice, they refused to give him power. I mean, come on, why are they still crying about sanctions? They refused twice. They lost twice, guys.
But let's also ask this question. Kana vanhu vari kushandisa sanctions that are being made by a foreign country upon their own people. What are the chances that those people, irrespective of how they have fooled the public, can be good people for the nation? What are the chances that those people are the kind of leaders that are going to serve their own people when they've currently made sure that their own people are suffering for them to get into power?
Because Benny, I don't believe that is unreasonable for an opposition party to go and to go to foreign lands that are propping up the regime. Because remember, we can talk sanctions all we like. All the medicine we drink in Zimbabwe is aid. 50% of Zimbabweans are on food aid right now from America. So we can talk all this is a smoke screen. This is a beautiful smoke screen when you look at it. Because I don't think it's unreasonable for an opposition party to go to a foreign land and say, boys is mad. It's not an unreasonable thing. I know it's not a good thing, but it's not unreasonable. Do you understand? It's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable if it was done the way you say it was done. But we all know that that's not how it was done. The issue is that the MDC was an opportunistic force because of the trade union where they belonged to come in and be able to stop the land reform program. Because of transformation.
Absolutely. Because of serious white monopoly capital. I get that. I get that there were people with vested interests. But again, what I'm not going. I'm not myopic enough to say, Benson. I'm not myopic enough to say that.
They didn't go for the reasons you're saying. That's what I'm saying. They went for the reasons of serving
white
capital. And so,
and like I said, you and I have got a date, and we must do this live, and we must talk about this thoroughly. But I don't actually believe that it's unreasonable for a party which is supporting MDC. White people are supporting MDC, for example. It's not unreasonable for them to try and stop their lands being taken. You see, we act like human beings have to act. No. But the thing is, we can go back millennium and start tracing back whose lands is what. You know, this is the whole argument of, did the Ndebele raid us and take our women and our cattle? Or did the Nguni come down and then they kill the Khoisan? I mean, we can go back time infinitum. The buck has to stop somewhere, my brother. And I think we can continuously go and regressively say, 100 years ago, my grandfather's lands in Matopos was taken. I swear to God, right now, I don't give a fuck as long as the bundle rate is cheaper and then I can get a good job for my children and give them a good education. The buck must stop. And I think we're going slightly off topic, and I would love you and I to talk about this properly. So please let me go back to the guys who are talking about the issue today, and then we can absolutely get into this properly. But I believe that your points are not wrong, my brother. You are very, very, very correct in the things that you say about sanctions, the people who call for the sanctions. But I don't believe that we must hold a higher moral standard for them than we do for the monsters at ZANU-PF. I think everybody needs to be judged equally. So let's speak later.
Before I go, one last point before I go. We must have this discussion, but it is a very central discussion because it will be able to determine whether never tengesi or never tengesi. Because I believe any nation, any national who goes to ask for a foreign power to impose war on their own country, mutengesi, and the question is, can that person lead us into a better Zimbabwe?
but then this is counterintuitive to what you're saying, my brother. ZANU PF, Zipra, Zanla went to Russia, they went to bloody North Korea, they went to China to get help in Rhodesia, which was a sovereign nation. So what you're saying is counterintuitive, my brother. People, if there's no war, when you don't look for allies. This is counterintuitive, bro. And your arguments are silly and they're very, very redundant. But I've got so much to say to you, but we can't do it now.
Rhodesia was not
we shouldn't do it now. We shouldn't do it now.
Rhodesia
Why was it not their country?
Because
why was it not their country?
A vote in Rhodesia. They did not have a stake in the economy of Rhodesia. They were excluded from Rhodesia. Their taxes were taken from them to prop up only 4% of the population. Now, Zimbabwe, our taxes are taken to help all of us. We are all educated in Zimbabwe.
No, they're not. No, they're not, my brother. You need to come back here and see the kids going to the school behind my house at Bishop's thingy there at Alfred Bait. There's no money being taken for us, bro. They're taking the money for themselves. Anyway, we need to talk about this another time, Benny. Thank you very much. It's so easy to get sidetracked with Benson on other things, and that's not what we're talking about today. But I would love to have a head-to-head debate with Benson and actually make him see some of the fallacies of his own arguments. And I don't think he's coming from a bad place, but I think he's not looking at things from all angles. Does anyone else want me to add them, please, so I can add you guys and we can finish talking about the nyas that we're talking about? Okay, I'm adding my brother James right now. James, if you can answer, please. James, there you go. Thank you for answering. Brother Jimmy David. If you don't mind, my brother,
okay, right, for the benefit of my nini right, so the first thing is just wanting to say that I personally condemn violence in whatever shape, form, or kind. So what happened at the burial of our icon there is something that should be condemned and condemned unreservedly. And I'm happy that the acting president of the MDCT party, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, when he appeared on The Voice of America a few hours ago, he actually did that. So that's one good thing. But in saying that, just wanting to say that I don't think there's a lot of objectivity in some of the debate that's happening at the moment right now as we discuss this issue, Kuda. Because for starters, this whole thing is an internal issue, MDCT. So it is a party issue. And because it is a party issue, it is something that should be resolved along the lines and the provision of the MDCT constitution. And as far as I'm concerned, there is not a lot of people that are well versed with what the MDCT constitution actually provides for. And most of the debate that's happening, it's happening without the knowledge of what the MDCT constitution says.
Well, I can explain for the sake of our listeners, I can explain that the MDC constitution, like most constitutions which are too long, is a badly written document, badly written by bad lawyers, because it has two things that are contradicting to each other. Number one, it says the deputy leader, the deputy president, takes over immediately in the event of death, absconsion of the current president. Correct?
That is correct, Kuda.
That's one part. The second part of it is that it also states that the National Council is supreme and can elect whoever it wants to be leader. That's two very, very bad things, because one does not override the other. So now, the deputy versus vice thing, if you read the letter of the law, is that T.Khupe then is the acting president of the MDC by the letter of the law in that section of the constitution. Correct?
Yeah, but
That's the. But wait. I'm qualifying. I promise you. I'm getting there. So to the letter of the law, Thokozani Khupe, that the moment Morgan Tsvangirai stopped breathing, Thokozani Khupe took over, because that's what the Constitution states. However, the next morning at 11 a.m., the National Council, which is the supreme body in the MDC, then elected unanimously, minus Manzura obviously, and the other one who walked out, that Nelson Chamisa is the new acting president for a 12-month period. So what we have is a situation of a bad constitution that gave us Thokozani Khupe leadership for literally 24 hours, and then Chamisa, rightfully, because the NC is the superior body in the MDC, has now elected Chamisa as the president. So that argument is not the argument we're having. I don't even want to argue on that, because like you said, that's an inter-party argument. What I would like to argue with you, my brother, is a cultural argument and a state argument. You see, for a crime to be committed, there has to be a victim. And Thokozani Khupe yesterday being stoned and beaten up with umbrellas is no longer a party issue. It's a woman being beaten up by young thugs. That's different.
That is correct.
So let us at least jump into that point, Rodi. As a citizenry, we are watching this party which is going to ask for our votes very soon. And we do not like the fact that we are seeing women. I mean, Wanzura, forget him in Manzuri, I mean, Varume. But to see a woman, a mother, being beaten up by thugs to me was distasteful. And as a citizen, I don't fucking like it. And I'm an advocate to everything. See, so now, these other activists go on their timelines right now. They're crying, hey, fuck, Thokozani Khupe, whatever. Why are they not active? Why not they not being active for Thokozani Khupe being beaten by those fucking thugs? That's my point.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, my brother, and that's why the very first thing that I stated right at the outset was that I condemn this act of thuggery. But in saying that, we should realize that this thing happened where there was a crowd, and I don't even know how big that crowd was, right? And I think, in my own view, the leadership represented by the acting president, as soon as they were made aware of what was happening, I believe that they made the right call to make sure that that thing was attended to. That's one. And that
Jimmy, Mira. Let me, we're the Tea Party. We're the Tea Party. Mira, we're the Tea Party. Why did he send the same thug that beat her up the last time?
Chimbomira, I'll come back to that.
Why did he send the same thug? And why was he sent?
And from what I hear, he said that he has instigated an investigation into this incident so that they get to the bottom of what transpired. And although I'm not going to argue with you, because I am not aware of the fact that this shaky guy is the very same guy that's accused of having Thokozani.
Go watch the videos. Go watch the. You and I have YouTube. Go watch the videos. What I'm saying to you now, my business is that if you read his apology, it's identical to Morgan Tsvangirai's apology when Khupe was assaulted the last time. And the same people who are removed. The same people who were removed last time and put on suspension are the same guys who are sitting in the high tent. That's what I'm saying. It's a fact. These are not. I'm not being. Go ahead.
That's fine. I just want to move on to something else, and it's about just the irony of some of the things that are happening at the moment. Is that when Morgan Tsvangirai passed on, right? The very first person to cross the border into South Africa to go and be with the family was Thokozani Khupe. But from what I understand, because I'm not on the ground, is that Thokozani Khupe of late has been boycotting MDCT meetings because she wasn't happy with what was happening with the alliance thing, and that I don't think she had made contact with Morgan Tsvangirai. I'm told maybe not in the last sort of 6 to 7 months. And then this is the very person that's now at the forefront to say that they're wanting to protect the legacy of Morgan Tsvangirai.
Yes. If I may,
I find that quite absurd.
If I may, me and my sister fight a lot. My oldest, but meaning my sister, I fight with her a lot.
Yes.
And if there's been a year when we didn't speak because she took the side of my ex-wife at some point, and we didn't speak. If I die, and my sister comes to my grave, I said I want to bury my brother, and I want to restore. I want to make sure that his children are looked after, and that his family does not go into disarray. Are you telling me that niggas have the right to stone my sister because me and my sister had problems?
No, I am not justifying.
Exactly. So let's not justify fuckery with fuckery.
I am not even justifying Kuti. Therefore, what happened to her is justified. But I am just trying to point out some of the hypocrisy that I am also entitled.
No, it's not hypocritical. If she knew that he was going to die, she may have behaved differently. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys, Kuti. You don't judge a person by their behavior when someone is alive. I think what they have. People took each other for granted. I would love her to be given an opportunity to come amends and say, you know what, I was very upset because he gave away my seat. He didn't consider me in the alliance. He gave Ngube all my seats in Matabeleland. I respect the fact that she was feeling aggrieved. I respect the fact that she's been wrestling for the part. She has been holding down Matabeleland for MDCT for ages against Ngube and against Mtambara and all those niggas, against PDP. But then PDP and Ngube got more seats in Matabeleland than she did. So she was genuinely aggrieved with her brother. A nigga who she had been with for 26 years. So me, I don't judge their relationship. I get it. Me and my sister fight. Me and my mother sometimes fight. But I'm saying that on the point of death, are we now saying that this woman is not allowed to come to her brother, a nigga who she's been with all her life, through all her political life, and then say, you know what, at least in his burial, let's bury him properly and do things properly to our Congress. I just think it's okay for her to do that. I don't judge her for that because I get why she was upset. Tolerance, ladies and gentlemen, is the key. Last words.
And I'm not even judging her for that matter. Because, look, there was a lot of people there. There was other opposition party members there. ZANU-PF was there. The ruling party was represented there. Maim Juru was there. And all other opposition party members. But they didn't suffer the fate that Khupe suffered. What I'm just trying to say to you is that in politics, you know, perception matters. And when perception comes into play, it plays on the emotions of the people, and especially our youths who are so gullible because of what they've gone through, because of what is obtaining on the ground, and because of some of the promises that are being made to them. So it's also always important to read where the political winds are going as well, and that would be my advice that I would give to Madam Khupe.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you coming on, Brother James. I'm trying to add Sister Josephine. She seems to have a lot to say. I'm trying to add you, Josephine. If you can accept, then I would love to talk to you because you seem to have a lot to say. Josephine, how are you?
Hi, Kunasha. Sorry, the night dance. When you join. Anyway, let me just cut it short and sweet. Don't hang it up. I'm gagging to talk.
Go ahead. Just go in, straight in.
First of all, okay, fine. Madam Khupe, I give her all the respect. She took her time, like I end up not body at Tangirai. At the same time, I think Chamisa Arkutora advantage. Because in dear Akaenda ku cancel, because I represent them on Wese Kutindosa Itika. Sarah Ia as a deputy was appointed by the council, but Mtemo MDC Unoti, they are supposed to take it further to the extra Congress. Could you actually know selector who's going to lead? And Madam Khupe is gonna lead. But however, Madam Khupe Pama votes, then positive democratic achona. One of the voter. People are supposed to choose their own leader. So Chamisa will win because I not Iwan Evan. However, Chamisa Pahakitam Kanataro and Zungure Shamsika Kuti Avan Warutondida Nai Kunda President Inga. So now Aku override Constitution in MDC. How is he going to be a good leader? He argue override the Constitution in MDC already.
No, he's not. He's not overriding the Constitution. That's the problem. The Constitution has two clauses which can be used. The first clause is that the deputy takes over.
It doesn't have two clauses. Constitution, you got the Constitution here do MDC. You know what to Khupe the right here leader until they elect another leader. Upon a time.
Iowa, but that's the National Council. I say the National Council here new manje. He has got the supreme body, and it can don't make closure. It can elect
Arguramba kwenda Chamisa. Arguramba kwenda yadedzero kunzi vari 3 ngavaende ku extraordinary Congress. You know, the extraordinary.
Aiwa, Congress haina basa.
Congress
Congress haina basa.
Khupe ari kupiwa chigaro chake, but Chamisa is a good public speaker. Chamisa anotora vanhu, anotsaka kutsanangura vanhu, anonakidzwa naye kana achitaura. So now he's taking advantage as Kuda. Ari kurambira kuenda extra Congress achiziva kuti anodya kana achiziva kuti ndiye ari kunowina.
No, because the National Council has stated, which in your constitution, you have to go read your constitution.
National Council yakastated because he's the only one who attended. Because my Khupe vakaenda kunotambira bhodhi yatsvangirai. Saka meeting yanga yakatogara yakasetwa kudhara. And he was the only available
you don't have to be there.
who went there.
You don't have to be there. You don't have to be there.
He's just
You don't have to be there.
Huh?
You don't have to be there. You don't have to be there to be appointed. The National Council can even appoint me
as well. Actually, Moshaina Tsvangirai was only supposed
to
have
vice.
one deputy. You're not supposed to have three
deputies. No. He was vice. No. The other two are vice. Pana one deputy, one deputy in the
Khupe ndiye deputy ka, but mamwe two ma vice. Two ma vice. Those who kusaka kuti paite problem. Party yotanga kuita unge serious. Party organized, and people should go and vote. Indri kufunga kuti party organized zvangu, but pangoitika ka greediness kakuda kungopinda kekuti Chamisa aita overwhelmed ne support yaari kuwana kubva kune vanhu, you know, from social media everywhere. Munhu wese arungoti Chamisa, but in all fairness, in his heart he knows kuti Madam Khupe deserves the throne for these 12 months, 6 months, whatever, 3 weeks davachapiwa kunzi until they elect another leader. Khupe is supposed to run the party.
Manje mai Khupe vakaenda panyanga manje ka MDC inozvambaradzwa na ED pa election isingatomboiti.
Aiwa, vanenge vari acting president. That's MDC aipe president chigaro kungonzi ose nhaka. Tinovota. We vote for our own president. That's what people are not getting. Aungonzi Chamisa nekuti vanhu vari kuti yeye Chamisa wotonzi wa president. No. Tinotovota kuti tiri kuda nhingi zvataita kuchikoro kuti junior debate leader. We used to vote for a junior debate leader. We just don't elect yourself kuti
Simon Kudani, Sister Josephine. Who do you want?
Ndrukuda Chamisa, but for now my Khupe ngavapiwe respect yavo. Ngavarade. Kusvikira 12 weeks dzavo, whatever. Madam Khupe ngavatombobatwa kuti ndini acting president. Then Chamisa akaiswa nevanhu, fair enough. Or an party. But for now, zvaari kuita kazvikusaka kuti mamwe members MDC manje vatove skeptical. Vakutanga funga kuti kana wakuda kuita unge mai Khupe vasiri munhu, mai Khupe vakutorohwa nevanhu uripo. What are you saying? Already you are bringing violence, which is what we don't want. We want a democratic world. We want to vote freely. We don't want you to elect yourself. We want to elect you. Saka Chamisa akutozvigadza umambo. Hanzi ndiri mhou inofamba nemhuru yayo. Ndiri mhuru yemhou. No. You know, be humble like Obama. Humble beginnings. Unobva wazovoterwa nevanhu tokuisa pachigaro. Wozotudza zvemhuru wapresident. Haungatudze zvemhuru sati akuvhotera kundikachinja moyo. Because the idika rakangwara rakanyarara zvaro pamwe ndo rakatenga tuma youths pese tietyezvo. Ndorakatubhadhara kuti kana masvika kukomoita noise MDC yo divider. But the truth is MDC a number divider. Ndaona hangu rume yekuti hanzi Madam Khupe vanga vakusiya party, havana kumbosiya party. Vakatanga party yaya vese natsvangirai. Havana kumbosiya party Madam Lele. But people vakadzi tinodzvinyirirwa. They don't want to see a woman lead. And it's so unfair kuti. Of course Chamisa is a young guy and he knows how to talk and he knows the in things and everything. So he's taking advantage of that. Fair enough. Ndiye anosaka kuti party irambe ichienda mberi chinakidza. But for now, ngaangoita chiremerera chekungosiya mai Khupe varane for now. That's what I feel.
My sister Josephine, thank you. Thank you very much. You're an MDC member. You gave us your position. Thank you very much, my sister.
All right, then. All right, then. Bye.
There's a lot of confusion. Before I take the next call, I need to make you guys understand. Those are the two clauses that I saw, and I looked this up the whole of last night. The National Council can choose whichever leader they want, number one, and number two, in the event of death, the deputy president takes over. Two things. Now, if you look at the American Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a 50, 60, 100-page document. It's a very simple pager. And I think the problem with this constitution, with the MDC, even ZANU-PF and the country's constitution, is that they're badly written and there's too many rules, room for manipulation, which is why we have ED as president and which is why MDC now has to live with the 12-month presidency of Nelson Chamisa, which I think is the best thing for MDC. I'm adding my brother Absalom, and his phone is not approving. Okay, the next person I'm adding is Simon. Brother Simon, how are you?
Hello, hi, how are you?
Go straight in. Tell us know what you thought, sir.
Hello, did you say?
Can you hear me? What do you think? Yeah, we can hear you clearly. What do you think?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What do you think, my brother? What are your thoughts? Talk to us. What do you think?
The party is in shambles. And if that's the way they are going to be leaders of the country, the party is in shambles. If that is the youth, that's the next generation which is going to be leaders, and no one is standing up for the women's rights, it's completely shambles. My missus right now, she's angry against Elizabeth, the way she has been treated. No one in the party has stood up and said, how are you treating a widow like that? Is that the right way? This happened 40 years ago. Now, we still have this today. No one is standing up. The same youth must be standing up for women. These are the voters. So the example already is wrong.
Yeah.
T.Khupe has talked of a dissident issue. Matabeleland is gone. I come from Matabeleland, and I know how much the dissident issue affects them emotionally. And the leaders of the party.
Okay, you know, I watched the videos. I watched the videos for T.Khupe. I've watched maybe about 20 different videos from different angles. And not once did I hear the word dissident chanted or said by anybody. Now, I don't know if someone went up to her ear and said it, but I think it's irresponsible for Mike T.Khupe to say those words and how emotive they are. Because I didn't hear it on any of the videos. And I listened very closely to say, did anybody chant that? But I didn't see it. So was that not a divisive thing for her to do as well? To start bringing up
it is probably, now this is what politics is about. It's about perception. Was Mike T.Khupe realized that she's losing the national vote, but she's got a very key constituent of the country which she can use the emotional side of it. So the perception which people are shouting Chamisa, Chamisa, is exactly now she's manipulating a situation. And Chamisa, the leadership of the MDC, is allowed this manipulation now. How are they gonna rebuild Matabeleland without T.Khupe? She has got a powerful voice in Matabeleland, and she brings the women vote as well. So I think the party itself coming from Morgan Tsvangirai going up, violence has not started now. It's something which has been like a parasite. It's now a cancer. Remember the breaks we've had before, and no one has stood up against this youth. Who are the youth in the party? Why do they think they're so important today to the people who found the party? Why do they think like they can do whatever they want without votes shouting? No, democracy is about perception. What is it about elections? Why do you say I'm nominated? I'm anointed. Who anointed you on a party evanu? Where do you get the guts to say such kind of thing? I'm anointed by who? Tsvangirai is not MDC. A leader is only there to show ideas of what everybody else is doing. It's just a front of a party. Of the brand MDC is a leader. How do you get there? By votes. By votes. You don't get there.
Yeah. Anyway, my brother, thank you very much for joining us. I hear your passion and I hear what you're saying. Let me let some other come on. You know, when I heard Mike T.Khupe narrate her story, I found it very sad that a woman was beaten up and treated that badly by her party cadres. And I think it's when she brought in the dissidence issue, I said, fuck, if this is true, this is terrible. So me and the missus went and found as many videos on our WhatsApp groups and to listen to hear, to see what were people saying when she was when they were pretty much assaulting and stuff. And why I didn't hear it. So I'm just saying on a personal level, in the videos, because everyone was videoing and people were saying I didn't hear it on herself, but she actually said she was called a dissident, which I think is terrible. If that's true, then it's a horrible thing. But if it's not true, then it's a very divisive statement. I think again it divides our people along racial and party and tribal lines, which I think is very, very sad. So, and to all those on Diana asking what a dissident is, you have to sort of be a bit older and understand that this is the word that was given to all fighting males between 14 and 30 or something in Matabeleland. And when ZANU-PF pretty much sent the 5th Brigade and shot up a bunch of young kids and men because they were just called dissidents because they were fighting age in the Gukurahundi atrocities, which our government still has not dealt with. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've spoken. We've had a good chance to speak. I don't know if anybody can add any other layer to this conversation. I've tried to. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I don't want to dismiss people's problems, so I'm going to sum up. Thokozani Khupe is not wrong for feeling begrudged. She's not wrong for feeling robbed of her opportunity. She was elected by the Congress, and ideally, according to the Constitution, if you read it one way, she should actually be allowed to be the acting president until a situation with the National Council changes their mind. However, the National Council, being the superior body, has actually elected a leader of their choice, which is Nelson Chamisa. The public has responded in a very good way to Nelson Chamisa, as they probably would, because of his age. He's a good orator, and he's probably the strongest candidate that MDC currently can put against a very strong ED government in the next coming election. We don't have a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. I would love us to be able to sit down and dissect these issues in a year's time when we've managed to get rid of the junta. But right now, I think we've got work to do, and the work to do is this. My advice to Nelson Chamisa, if my advice is worth anything, he needs to talk to Thokozani Khupe, talk to Obed Gutu, talk to Honorable Manzura, and would like to see them in the next few days together in a press statement telling us a way forward, a united way forward, unified way forward as a party. I would like there to be an opportunity for the party faithful to vote for the leader they want. And I think that Nelson Chamisa is going to win unanimously. But that's my own thought. I would love to see them together as a unit and give us some hope as a population that we're no longer going to be dealing with a fractured MDC. We would like to see the alliance get stronger. We would like to see other players involved. We would like to see people like Maim Juru and the Rainbow Alliance involved. And we would like to see a unified democratic alliance that goes up against the ZANU-PF juggernaut that is coming. And this is the only chance we have of removing a 37-year-old repressive regime. The only chance we have. 38 now, 38 years old. The only chance we have is if Chamisa proves his leadership and gets all these people, see, because the sign of a good leader is how you can get people to go where they don't want to go. How you can get people to go into places where even when they're scared. How do you get people to go to areas even if they may die? You know, the Winston Churchills were sending young men to their death sometimes. You know, a strong leader like George Bush managed to get people to go to war even though the UN had said no. See, strong leaders managed to get their things done. Hitler managed to get an entire nation to go to war with 10 other nations at the same time. You see, these are strong leaders. So we'd like to see if Chamisa can be that strong leader that our generation has been waiting for. Is he the Joshua to the Moses that Trangirai was? Is he the guy who's going to take us to the promised land? And I think it's regrettable that there was already this assault happening. I think it's a continuation of a very, very bad system, which is a remnant of what Trangirai left behind. I think leaving 3 deputies and 3 vices, I think was also a bit of a tragedy. I think succession issues should never be allowed again to get us into the position where we have an ED and a situation like this. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a long, long, long episode. We've spoken a lot. It's Mugabe's birthday, or what we now call Youth Day. So I hope all the youth out there are having fun. And I hope all the youth out there hold everybody to account. And please, remember today, go find all the selfie seekers. Go find them and like their pictures and put those 2 eyes and say, we see you, we see you. We see you, all these selfie seekers. They're going to be asking for your vote very soon. Hold them to account. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Tea Party. Expect us.